Okay, Matt, we're back ready for the NFL season to start. Had some technical difficulties getting this thing going. It was so annoying, but it's okay. We made it, and we finally made it to the start of the NFL season. So we're gonna do finish our preview that we started last week. But let's get into your favorite topic. Um, you know, anytime we get to talk Cowboys, I'm sure you're very excited to be able to do that. So we're gonna do some record predictions first to start off the show. Let you start off with the Cowboys as usual. So why don't you run us through every game and give us your record prediction, which I'm sure will be extremely reasonable, not biased, just very objective.
I will say that last year you laughed at my prediction and it was only one game off. So I would say I was pretty reasonable. But this year, roughly, I think maybe 17-0 in the regular season. You get the first round buys, 3 wins in the playoffs. So 20-0, maybe?
Yeah, might as well.
All right. But without further ado, let's actually get into this for real. Week one at the Giants Sunday Night Football. That's a dub. It's the Giants. Danny Dimes, sorry, bud. It's not your time on prime time this week. Dallas takes care of business there, so we're 1-0. Then we go home to play the other New York team, who's on Hard Knocks, Mr. Aaron Rodgers and company. This one I'm a little torn. So I'm trying to be reasonable because this is a non-biased podcast here. I could see them losing this game if it was later in the season, but because the Jets are a new team trying to figure each other out in the second week, I don't think the chemistry is going to be there. I think we win this game in a close one. So I got the Giants and the Jets going down. We take over New York to start 2-0. Week three, we go to Arizona. That's a dub. Don't
Yeah,
even need to
okay.
explain that. This is
No
probably the worst team in the
arguments.
league.
No arguments there.
Yeah. Week four, homecoming for Ezekiel Elliott. That's a dub. That's a dub. I'm sorry. I'm not buying the Patriots offense outside of Ramondre Stevenson. Nobody else scares me. So we got that one 4-0 heading into San Fran, which is a game that I will be attending in person. But I think they dropped this one. I think the 49ers kind of have their number. They'll probably win in the regular season. We'll see them down the road, hopefully in the playoffs. We'll get our revenge there. But I think we drop our first game on the road to the Niners. So we'll go 4-1. And then we head to LA. Monday Night Football game against the Chargers. A matchup against our old OC, Mr. Kellen Moore. I got a dub in this one. We got the Chargers.
Wow.
I'm not yeah, we played pretty well against the Chargers and we played well. I think it was 2 years ago, Micah's rookie season. We took him down in SoFi. Kellen Moore, that guy is so yeah, I'm not sold on Kellen Moore at all. So I think we win that game. So 5-1 after 6 weeks. We head into the bye week. We come out, we'll play the other LA team at home, the Rams. I think we win that game. So we are flying high at this point, 6-1 to start the year. Then we go to Philly. That's a tough one. I think we lose that one. The Eagles are always going to be tough with Jalen Hurts. And the Philly crowd is pretty ruthless, pretty evil. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt there. So what are we? 6-2? That's six
Six
and
and
two? Yeah,
two.
six and
Six and
two.
two.
All right. Then we go home. We got the Giants. We beat them again. 7-2 at Carolina. Bryce Young's a rookie quarterback. He's got time. We got now. We got the Panthers in that one. So that's 7-2. No, 8-2.
8 and 2. 8 and 2.
8-2. Now we got the Commanders. Commanders might be a tough one. I don't know how Sam Howell's going to do this year, but not in Dallas. It's not going to happen in Dallas. We got that one. So the record's looking pretty good right now. 9-2. I love it. I love that. Versus the Seahawks. That's a tough one. I think we got that one too. It's not in Seattle. I would say if it was in Seattle, we might drop this one, but we got that one too. 10-2. Philly coming to Dallas after that. I think we split home and home. We're gonna win that one. So we're 11-2. Man, this is a pretty good record so far. At Buffalo, this is kind of the tough part of the schedule now, though. So at Buffalo, I think we dropped this one. The weather's probably going to be freezing in
Hmm.
Buffalo. Tough environment. I think we dropped that one. So 11-3. And then the big matchup for us,
Yeah, that's
Christmas
interesting.
Eve,
That'll be a fun one.
the Dolphins. That's going to be a tough one. Ooh, that's a toughie. I think they dropped this one. I think they dropped this one in Miami. Something is telling me that we're going to lose and not be able to guard Tyreek Hill for some reason. So I say we drop to Miami in a close one. So I got 11-4.
11-4.
Yeah, that's 11? Yeah, 11 and
Yep.
4.
Yep.
Then we got Detroit, last home game of the regular season. Tough team right there. I think they're going to be great this year, but it's at home. I think we win this one. So we got the dub there. 12-4 heading into the last week of the regular season. Playoffs are already clinched, but we got the Commanders. Always tough with the Commanders. I don't know why. We played them last year, last game of the regular season. We lost. I feel like we're gonna do that again for some reason. That's kind of like our lay egg game. So I think we lose that one. So I got them going 12-5
Wow.
and making the playoffs.
Okay.
12 and
Are,
5.
are you winning the
Book it.
division at 12-5? That's gonna be a. I feel like that's a pretty interesting question too, though. I don't know, but hey, 12 and
Well,
5 for you. That's pretty
I'll hold
reasonable.
that thought. Hold that thought because
Okay.
we'll save that for the next segment.
Okay. Start thinking ahead to that one, but 12-5 coming from you, I respect that. That's a very objective prediction from the fanatic, I would say. But I mean, I can't really argue. I think I agree with most of what you said. The only one maybe I think would I could see as a loss is the Jets game, but I think it'll be close. I think you made a good point that it'll be early on in the season and it's in Dallas. So the only thing is Mr. Rogers does like playing the Cowboys, right?
Yeah,
That's the only
but
thing I would say.
it's the Packer. He doesn't have the Packers aura on him. He's got to
Oh,
learn
okay.
this new team. Second game. It's only their second game together. So you got to give that team time to build some chemistry. So I think that's a good time to play them.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. You know what, Matt? I respect the 12-5 coming from you. Very proud of your objectivity. So I'll do my best now to do the same. That's kind of my job, right? To stay a little more even keeled on the show. But I mean, maybe I'll be a little more optimistic. Who knows? Let's get to the Dolphins. Start off week one with probably one of the better games of week one, I would say. Dolphins at the Chargers. Tough game to open up the schedule. I believe the AFC East just predict or sorry, schedule wise has the toughest schedule in the whole league. I think they have the four teams in the AFC East have the four toughest schedules. So Miami, I believe, has the second toughest, only to New England. So it's going to be a rough one, I think, going into LA. Man, I really want to say we get a win. I really do.
Ooh.
But the only thing I'm going to give it to the Chargers only because, the line hasn't really meshed yet, at least in the preseason. Couple of injuries, Teron Armstead also got nicked up. And Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are both healthy for this game. We also don't have Jalen Ramsey yet. So I think Justin Herbert has looked like a superstar, right, the past couple of years. He's going to go out there, do his thing, pass happy offense with Mr. Kellen Moore, as you alluded to earlier. I think the Chargers pull it out. Maybe a little bit of a shootout, but I think the Chargers pull it out, and all the narratives are going to start coming out. Oh, Herbert's better than Tua, blah blah blah. But I really do think the Chargers right now are a little bit healthier and have a little bit more of a complete team than the Dolphins do right now. So Dolphins had a little bit of the injury bug during training camp. So I'm gonna give it to the Chargers. They start off 0-1. but I think it's a bounce back game in New England. Something about Tua, like playing Belichick, he just likes to play New England. Um, to me, the Patriots still didn't do enough in the offseason to really get a lot better to compete in this division, especially now with reports coming out Juju's hurt. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be there. Yeah, Mac Jones is still there, but we all saw how that offense looked last year. Is one offseason going to turn things around? I don't know. I'm not buying it, but I think I'll say that's a win in New England. So 1-1. The Dolphins taking on the Broncos. This is going to be I think, a little bit of a trap game. But after the first 2 weeks, we'll really get to see what Denver's looking like if Sean Payton really turned that offense around. But I still think Jerry Judy's still kind of hurt. Maybe it's taking a little bit more time for Russ to get going, and playing in Miami. It's the end of September, but I still think it's going to be pretty muggy, pretty hot and muggy, compared to what you're going to see in Colorado. So give the little bit of the weather advantage to Miami. I think they win that one, go 2-1 at the Bills. So at the Bills is going to be tough. They split last year. I think it's going to be the same this year. The home team wins each game. So I'll give it to the Bills here. 2-2. Not really time to hit the panic button just yet, but it's going to be a real key stretch of games coming up for them. So take the Giants at home. I have faith. I think it's going to be a close game. I know the Giants had a good year last year. Daniel Jones coming off a new contract. They re-signed Saquon. So I think it'll be a little bit closer than I would like, but I think we can win just because it's at home. So give us a 3-2. Panthers, same as what you said, Bryce Young, going to have his growing pains as a rookie. So Miami takes that one 4-2. Then you got to go to Philly. I mean,
tough crowd there.
Yeah, tough crowd. Another Tua and Marcus reunion. I've been having those the past couple years.
Tua Jalen.
Yeah, and Tua, of course, the Tua Jalen. Jalen's gonna want a little bit of revenge for losing his job that junior year. But all love between those guys. I think Philly takes it. They're just such a strong team on both sides of the ball. I think. So what are we at now? Was that 5-3 or 4-3?
You got
4-3. Okay, so 4-3. Moving on, we get New England at home again. That's a must-win game, and I think we do win that one 5-3. Then Dolphins against the Chiefs. So this one is going to be in Germany, I believe. So right before the bye week, it is going to be a shootout. But this is the weird game I'm feeling that I think Miami kind of starts to hit their stride in Germany. Tyreek against his former team. I don't know. Something weird is telling me that the Dolphins win that one because it's all the way in Germany. Weird conditions, not really a real home team advantage. Although I do think they love the Chiefs out there. Pretty sure they love the Chiefs, but I'm gonna give it to Miami. That's kind of my one big upset for them. That kind of shows that they're ready for the playoffs. So I'll have them at 6-3 after that game. Raiders, that should be a win at home, especially 7-3. The Jets. So this is going to be a tough one. They play the Jets late for the first time. I could see them going 0-2 against the Jets, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but especially this one in New York, I'll give it to New York. They're going to have time by then to really gel together. So be 7-4 at the Commanders. That should be a win. I'm hoping. So I'll say 8-4 after that one. Get Tennessee. I don't think Tennessee is going to be the same. Same team. I don't know. I just don't trust Tennessee, to be quite honest. So I have Miami winning that one. We'll be at is that 9-4, I believe.
9-4. You got 9-4.
9-4. I think they can beat the Jets at home. Be a close one, but I do think we beat them at home. 10-4. I'm kind of opposite of you here. I think Dallas is gonna win in Miami. for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Look at us. We're
Um,
we're not we're not biased. We're not biased.
no, but I don't know. Something weird's telling me that yeah, they're gonna drop that one. It's gonna be close. 10-5. This is so these next two games though are really four games to close out the season at the Ravens. So the Ravens, they remember what happened last year. Miami, I think that they might lose if Lamar is playing. I think that might be a loss, unfortunately. So we'll be what 10-6, I believe. Yeah, 10-6. And then
And
in a
six.
must-win game, I think there's going to be drama. It's going to be a must-win game to get into the playoffs for Miami. You get Josh Allen and the Bills at home, do or die to get into the playoffs. I think they win it and they squeak by in the wild card to go 11-6. I could see that happening. I think that's my pretty objective schedule. 11-6, squeaking into the playoffs. Yeah, I'll say, mm, yeah, I think the 11-6 should get you in,
11
right?
and 6.
That should get you
I
in,
think
right?
the golden number is 10. If you get to 10 wins, you're supposed to get into the playoffs.
Okay,
So 11 should get you in. Although wasn't
okay.
there a year like 2 years ago there was a team? It might have been the Dolphins, right? There's a team with 11 wins, 10 or 11 wins that they didn't get
Yeah,
into the
no, I don't.
playoffs.
Shoot, which team was that? I know what you're talking about because it was that
Yeah,
AFC South winner, right, or the NFC South winner.
right.
I don't know that ended up getting in with what 7 wins or whatever. So, um, but yeah, okay. So that's our predictions. I guess we'll say. Let me just say. So 12-4, or sorry,
12 and 5.
12
12
and
and 5.
5, 11-6.
11 and 6.
Hopefully, we're both in the playoffs. But we can look ahead now to our pretty much last preview of the season before it starts. So we'll go division by division first. Just kind of each give our takes on who we think's going to win the division. Some of them, I feel like we'll have pretty consensus answers. Some of them, not so much. But going, I guess you could say alphabetical order here, but in order of AFC first. So start with the AFC East. Probably one of the toughest ones to call, I think, in this division with Mr. Rogers. Now, I think we're both going to rule out New England, but
Yep.
what who are you leaning towards? This is going to be a close one. I don't think there's really a wrong answer, but which way are you leaning?
Ooh, it's a tough one. It's between the Jets and the Bills, but I still got to go with the Bills. I think ever since Brady left, it was kind of Josh Allen's turn to run the division, and until somebody beats them, it's hard to pick against them. So I think Buffalo still wins the division this year.
I'm gonna have to give it to the Jets. I'm leaning a
Really?
little bit more. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm leaning a little bit more towards the Jets. I know, new system right away can be a little overwhelming, but to me, it was just the culture that's already built there, and the fact that they won so many games last year with Zach Wilson and Joe Flacco rotating in and out solely on the defense. They get a Brees Hall back, who they lost, right, on his way to Rookie of the Year. You add Dalvin Cook to that. I mean, you add Nathaniel Hackett, who has a good relationship and chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. If you watch Hard Knocks, you kind of got to see. Just seems like everything is rolling in the direction for these Jets right now. I think it's close. I still think it'll be close, but I'm leaning a little bit more towards the Jets winning the division. So I'll give it to the Jets there. Moving on, AFC North, another tough one. Another tough one. Deshaun coming back, presumably to his old self. We'll still have to check on that. Kenny Pickett showing a lot of strides, in the second half of last year and the preseason this year. Joe Burrow, a little bit nicked up, but should be good to go. And then Lamar coming back healthy. So, another one of the tougher divisions in football. AFC North, Matt. I'm curious to hear who you're leaning towards.
This one is tough. I think this is going to be the closest division in football, surprisingly. But I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think the Ravens, with a healthy Lamar, they just have that edge. And if you go back to last year, I know the Bengals won the division, but the Ravens were firmly in control of the division, at least by a game or two throughout the whole time. And then Lamar goes down, and then the Ravens struggled to score. And that's when the Bengals, they smelt blood and they kind of took off from there. So I think if Lamar stays healthy, he's signed the big contract. The morale is feeling good now around the team. They got their guy locked up. I like the Ravens to overthrow the Bengals in the division this year.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. We're gonna have different answers again. So I'm gonna stick with Cincinnati. I think I agree though. It will be extremely close. It's gonna be Cincinnati or Baltimore. I have to see it from Cleveland to believe it first. Honestly. Um.
Yeah. Deshaun is such a wild card. I can't I don't know what to expect from him.
Yeah. I think it'll come down to one game, probably their head-to-head matchup between Cincinnati and Baltimore. And I'm leaning a little bit more towards Cincinnati just because the Ravens are going to implement a new offense this year, a little bit more passing friendly. And I'm just not sure how it's going to, pan out against defenses yet. Might cost them maybe 1 or 2 games early. I think that, they're not quite synced up and ready to go. And I think that 1 or 2 games is going to be the difference maker towards the end of the season. So I'm going to give it to Cincinnati there just by a hair. Okay, so moving on, AFC South. You got the Jags,
I
I
got
would
the
presume. I've
Jags.
got the Jags.
Probably the worst division in football at this
Worst
point.
division in football, easiest one to call. The Jags don't win, I would be extremely shocked. Tennessee's always going to make some noise, but I just think the momentum that Jacksonville had, Trevor Lawrence going through that playoff game against the Chargers last year, going to build a lot of momentum there in Jacksonville. They got Calvin Ridley, look like a better team going into this year. So pretty easy call there for both of us. Jacksonville is going to take the South. And last, the AFC West, which we thought was going to be the toughest division in football last year, turned into pretty much a one-man show in Kansas City and, the Chargers doing their thing to get in last year. But we got to stick with Mr.
I'm
Mahomes, the
sticking
MVP.
with the
Yeah,
defending champs. Yep.
I agree.
The Chiefs win that.
You got to stick with the Chiefs unless some catastrophe proves otherwise. But you still got Andy Reid, still got the MVP, and you still got Travis Kelce. Pretty easy call there. Chris Jones, a little bit of a question mark going into the season with the contract, but I still don't think it'll be enough for them to drop the division. So I think he does come back. Hopefully they re-sign him because that guy is such a difference maker. I don't know how you can't re-sign your best defensive player, but we'll see about that. Let's transition now. NFC East. Kind of been itching to hear this answer. So who's winning the division, man? You still got faith that 12-5 wins the division?
Let me get a drum roll here. You already know who's winning the division. The boys. The boys are
Okay.
winning the division. And you know why? Because the NFC East has not had a repeat division winner in it's maybe 15 plus years. So why not? Let's keep that streak going. I think the Eagles fade a little bit, and it's time for Dallas to rise. So we got the division this year.
Okay,
We got to
so
keep that streak going.
so you're saying Philly only wins 11 games this year? Or do you think it's one of these
Yeah, they
tiebreaker
can
12-5
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker? Okay. Okay.
I think they'll lose maybe one game more than Dallas in the division.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. As much as I do want to side with you, I've got to stick with the Eagles. I just think they brought a lot of people back from last year. Jalen Hurts is going to take another step in his progression as a leader. And I think could be, he's going to give Mahomes MVP a run for his money again. So I'm going to stick with Philly. I think they're just too good on both sides of the ball. Although Dallas is going to make it close. I think it'll be another one game separation between the two. But I'm going to roll with the Eagles there. So transition the NFC North. Maybe we are going to agree with this one. I'm curious to see who you think is winning this one.
This is another close division. I think there's three teams in play here. but I'm gonna go with what I said last week. The Lions. Don't sleep on the Lions. I think this is their time to take over the division. Rodgers is gone. I think the Vikings, they peaked last year. They're still going to be a quality team in playoff contention, but I think the Lions are just going to build off of last year's success. And you add a guy like Jameer Gibbs, just going to be a total gadget guy. And you keep Ben Johnson as your OC, which I think was probably the biggest win to me for their offseason success. So I think the Lions, they rise and take the North this year.
I agree. I'm going to agree with you there that the Lions take the division. I think the reason I'm not giving it to Minnesota, and it's more about like the record from last year, because Minnesota was so in like one score games last
One
year
score games, yeah.
that I really can't see them. What were they, like 5-0 or something like that? Um,
Maybe
in
more. I think they might have
even
had
more,
more wins
yeah.
than that.
So they
Yeah.
they were really good in the one score games. I don't see that happening again. I think they had a lot of crazy games. So it was yeah, it was a good season for them in that regard. So I think Detroit carrying the momentum from last year, like you said, they're gonna be the ones to take us or take them over the top and win the division. Okay, NFC South, Matt, who do you got?
Ooh. Tough. I think I got to go with the Saints only because I think they have the best quarterback in the division. That's kind of my logic. Derek Carr, you got Desmond Ritter, you got Baker, and you got Bryce Young, a rookie. So I'm going to go with the veteran here. Derek Carr, I think kind of a weak division here. And Saints have a good team. I think their defense is solid. They got Kamara coming back after 3 weeks. I don't think that's going to hurt them too much. Jamal Williams is a sneaky ad, led the league in touchdowns last year. And if Michael Thomas stays healthy, that's going to be huge because I think
Yeah,
Olave is
if
going to take that step. But Olave, I think he's going to be their wide receiver one now. But
mhm,
if Thomas stays healthy, he's still a quality. He can play if he stays on the field.
right.
But to me, it comes down to the quarterback. Derek Carr is the veteran there. I think he has one playoff appearance. So I got to go with Mr. Carr there to win the division in the Saints.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you 100%. Same reason too. I think Derek Carr is the best quarterback in that division. And you see what the Saints did last year with Andy Dalton, Jameis going in and out. I think Derek Carr provides like just a steady hand at the helm. So I'm going to go with the Saints to win the division as well. Then you move over to the NFC West. I think probably going to have the same pick here. We're going to go with the Niners, right?
The Niners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, you want to just give your quick reasonings on that one?
I think top to bottom, they're just the best team. If Brock Purdy plays like how he did last year, they're they could be the one seed. Honestly, I could see them being the one seed in the NFC West.
I
They
agree.
have that potential.
I agree. Yeah. Brock Purdy coming back, unless we see some serious regression, there's nothing, that is going to sway me to have the Niners not win that division. Arizona, arguably the worst team in the league now, no Kyler. They cut Colt McCoy. I don't know what's going on up there. Seattle added some interesting pieces, I thought. They got JSN, but to me, it's still not going to be enough to beat the Niners, who are just top to bottom, both sides of the ball. Just the best team, I think, on paper in the league. So I'm gonna have to give it to the Niners. So we had some differing opinions, which is good. We can check back mid-season and then at the end of the year to see who won, or I guess who was right the most. So that will wrap up pretty much our prediction for the divisions. Now let's get to playoff teams. So playoff teams, 7 playoff teams on each side. We already went over each of our division winners. But Matt, let's hear your 3 wild cards you think are getting in on both sides.
Yeah, I'll start with the AFC. I think the first wild card will be the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers and company, a veteran quarterback. They got the team this year on paper. I think they get the number one wild card in the AFC, so they're the five. Second wild card, I think it's the Bengals. I think that division is going to come down to the last week of the season. Baltimore is going to have the edge, but Joe Shiesty can't count him out on the playoffs. I think they get in. And the last one is, yeah, this is a tough one here. I gotta go with. Ooh, this is tough. I think I'm gonna go with the Chargers. I think the Chargers sneak in. I don't think they're gonna go anywhere. I think Brandon Staley, kind of like that regular season coach, but some of his decision making
Right.
probably one of the worst
That we've
in
talked
football.
about. Yeah, we've talked about that a
Yeah,
couple times.
but their roster on paper is very, very good, top to bottom. So, and I like their quarterback, Justin Herbert. He's that dude. So I think they sneak in as the 7 seed. So that's my three wild cards there. The NFC, I got the Eagles, top wild card. They'll be the five. I have the Seahawks getting in as a wild card. I think they build off of last season. I
Wow.
like the pieces that they added. Jackson Smith and Jigma, I really high on him coming out of the draft. I think he's a difference maker if he stays healthy. They're going to be good. I like the Seahawks getting in. And the last team, oh, this is tough. But I think Kirk Cousins sneaks in just by a tad bit. Kirk Duggins, Justin Jefferson, who I think is going to win Offensive Player of the Year. It's going to take that kind of effort just to get into the playoffs because it's the Lions' time in the division. So I got the Vikings sneaking in as my last wild card team.
Okay. Okay. So you got six. And just to recap, so the AFC was you said the Jets,
I
um,
had the Jets, the Bengals, and the
Bengals. That's right.
Chargers.
Jets, Bengals, Chargers. Okay. Okay. So yeah, mine's gonna look a little bit different with the Jets winning the division. I think the Bills will get the top wild card seed. Then these next two are tough because I really think the AFC is gonna have three or four teams vying for the last two spots. So for me, it's got to be between kind of what you alluded to, Miami. It's going to be the Ravens for me, the Chargers. You know, I could see Pittsburgh making a little bit of a run there, or even Denver, right? Depending on how they look this year. But to me, yeah, it's going to come down to Miami, Cincinnati, and Miami, Baltimore, and the Chargers. Oh man, it makes that game one against the Chargers so important now because I really think that's gonna have playoff implications. Um, I'm still gonna give it to Miami, and I gotta give it to. I just can't not give it to the Harbaugh. Um, I can't not give it to Baltimore. Just Lamar, he just wins during the regular season. I think they'll be a 10-11 win team. The Chargers, I think, not to say they're cursed, but it's the chart. Like they just have the way
It's
of
Staley too. It's Staley's
Staley. I
decision making.
I don't know what it is. I just can't buy in, and especially after the loss they suffered last year. Are they just one of those organizations that's cursed for no reason? I mean, they might be, right? So I think it's going to be close. I think it'll be a heartbreaker for them, but I don't think they get in. I think they start hot, but I think they might run into some trouble. They have some guys that are injury prone too. So let me switch over to the NFC really fast here. So I had Philly winning. I have Dallas in. That's a given. The last two are going to be a little bit tough for me, but I'm going to give one. This is going to be weird, but I think Washington. I think the Commanders with Sam Howell, who looked a little bit better, you know, at the end of last year. Their defense, I think, still is pretty good. And you give him time with Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin. They just somehow found weird ways to win last year. I think that stays the same. I don't think the Giants, have that quite same level of success. So I'm not going to give it to them. And you know what? I'll reach out on an even bigger limb here. All right. I'll give it to the Packers getting the
I knew you were
seventh
gonna say
seed.
that.
The Packers getting the seventh seed. Jordan Love, first year replacing Rodgers. Them in that offense. I mean, I still think they're a good team. I really do. So I'm gonna give it to them. Emergence of Christian Watson. He breaks out as a full-fledged wide receiver one this year. Still got Aaron Jones. So I'm gonna give it to Green Bay as my seventh seed. Um, sorry, Riley, but yeah, I'm gonna give it to the Packers there. Okay, last one, Matt, to wrap up our predictions here. Super Bowl matchup. So who we got?
So who's playing Dallas, right?
Okay, yeah, figured that one.
I should just say, well, in the NFC, I think that's a no-brainer for me. The Dallas
Right.
Cowboys will be in the Super Bowl playing, I think, the Chiefs. Chiefs get back to the Super Bowl. If they win, we'll see. But I got Dallas and the Kansas City Chiefs, the matchup that everybody wants to see on paper for ratings. Battle of the quarterback goats, Patrick Mahomes, Cooper Rush. It's going to be a heck of a Super Bowl this year in Las Vegas. So maybe
Okay.
we should go.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe. Um. Maybe we should go because I think it's gonna be Miami. I really think that if okay, hear me out. Tua has to play the whole year. If Tua doesn't play the whole year, I don't think they have a chance because I think the one or two games he's not in, they're gonna lose. They don't even make the playoffs. But I think Tua plays the whole year. They have the toughest schedule, and I think that tells a lot about teams going into the playoffs. They've been through the adversity. Strength of schedule matters, as we saw with those undefeated Steelers. A couple years ago. Oh, they're so, and then couldn't really amount to anything when they played the tougher teams. So I think if Miami gets into the playoffs as a wild card, they'll be going in on the right note. We know the hot team at the right time is the most dangerous team. So I got Miami. And the NFC, it's a little tough, but I'm just gonna have to give it to the Niners because I think what happened last year, they lost Brock Purdy um in that NFC championship game. I think if he is also healthy the whole year, they move on. So it's kind of the McDaniel versus Shanahan trees, the Miami 49ers, all that talk. Those two worlds collide. And yeah, I'll give Miami the nod there, obviously, if I'm gonna have to pick one. So I'll give it to Miami, but I think it'll be Dallas and the Niners again in the NFC Championship game. I could see that happening. But yeah, gonna lean towards the Niners there. Sorry, Matt. But yeah, so that'll do it for our predictions. NFL is back. We're
I'm
stoked.
pretty confident.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be dialed in all NFL season. We'll be here giving our takes. So yeah, why don't we get to a quick break here and then we'll get to some college stuff. So stick around. Okay, so wrapped up some NFL talk. We'll get into some college talk. report, unfortunate news to report. It was a tough week. Little bit of a disappointment. I'm not gonna lie. They got our hopes up after that Vanderbilt game. Taking on Stanford, first home game. Did you go to the game, Matt, by the way?
I did not go to the game,
No, did not go
but
to
it
the
was on
game.
TV, so I was watching.
Right. Yeah, at least we got a little bit of nationally televised games. Um,
Hey, that's two games in 2 weeks we got.
yeah, we'll take it. But it was the whiteout, I believe, for the college section. Uh, Sold out, thankfully. First game of the year. We sold out the 15,000. Is it still the TC Ching? It is still, right?
TC
Uh,
Ching.
TC Ching. What do you even call it? Field?
It's Field.
Field?
TC Ching Field.
Okay. Well, we sold it out, thankfully. All
Athletic complex,
15,000.
you could say
Oh,
that too.
athletic complex. Okay, right. I like that. So luckily sold it out. Um, Stanford coming in they had a rough year last year. for especially for Stanford's um standards, I guess you could say. But ah, just man, disappointment. Get to some of the game points here early. So Stanford's defensive line just manhandled our offensive line all game, whether it was the run game, getting to Braden Shager, and lo and behold, Matt, what were our 2 points of that UH needed to do to become victorious this past weekend? I believe it was protect the quarterback and establish the run game. And they did neither. So surprise, surprise, didn't win.
Timmy didn't listen
Yeah.
to the podcast.
Yeah, I guess so. But you know what? Let's get to some of the game points first. You were the one that brought up the running game. Just give me your thoughts on just the whole overall run game for this past one.
It was a flat out F. Like, horrible. I know it's the run and shoot. I know, it's about passes and short passing game, stretching the field. Everything is about the passing game and the run and shoot. But I still believe you have to have balance in an offense. And the run game sets up your passing game. Passing game sets up your running game. Supposedly, that's how it's supposed to work. But I still don't understand. Tylan Hines is your best player, and something is wrong with him. But how do you give him 5 carries? I don't understand. And the way that the game was playing out, it's not like they were down 28-0. You're playing catch up. Like, it was 1 to 2 scores for the most part throughout the game, at least through the first 3 quarters. So you can stay balanced, kind of run your normal offense. But to give your quote unquote best player 5 rushing attempts for 5 yards, that's bad. That's bad coaching. That's not winning football right there. And look at Stanford. What was their biggest strength? It was their defensive line. They were manhandling Hoy because you know why? They knew they were going to pass. They gave up on the run. They knew they were going to pass. So the edge guys, they don't have to worry about keeping contained. They're just going to say, oh, I'm just going to hunt Shager all day. I don't got to worry about the run. Because when you have that in the back of your mind, your pass rushing scheme is different. You got to play both. That's how you got to keep them on balance. And you got to do that by running the ball. Even if it doesn't work, you can still get 2 to 3 yards and at least show to the D line that you got to respect it. And that's huge, especially when Stanford's D line is just mauling Hoy. Because I always said on this podcast, it's a lot easier for an offensive lineman to run block because you have leverage. When you're pass protecting, you're on your heels. So it just comes down to who's the bigger guy, who has more talent. And Stanford, Power 5 school, they're probably going to have more talent than you. So help your guys get an edge, establish the run game early, put them in better situations. And UH, horrible job. That's all I got to say. Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it is frustrating, especially we've talked about it. Tylan Hines being our best offensive player. Maybe he doesn't look like it in this scheme anyway. It's all about the receivers, right? But at least maybe it's about just getting him the ball in space somehow. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but at least give him some touches, give him a chance to make a play. Maybe we got to start lining him up in the slot. I don't know if that's what it's going to take, but just if we can find a way to get him the ball with a chance, like at least give him a chance, because the run game, I can see why we abandoned it a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I know it was terrible, but no chance. I mean, when he gets the ball, guys are 2 steps behind the line of scrimmage waiting for him. Like, what chance does he realistically have? And maybe Timmy made that call early, like, okay, we have absolutely zero chance of running the ball. yeah, you want to keep them honest, but if we're just gonna get blown up every single time we hand the ball off, maybe we just got to throw it whatever 60 or 55, 53
53
times,
pass attempts for Shager.
and we got sacked 6 times, right? So that's what pretty much 60 dropbacks, give or take a couple. So man, it was yeah, it was a tough one to watch here. It's just sad because they got our hopes up again. Typical UH. Oh, maybe this is the time. We're starting to turn the corner. No, that's typical UH. Um, One thing though, Matt, I did want to ask you. I don't know if you got a chance to look and see a couple of these decisions by Timmy, but there was, a moment in the third quarter where Stanford's up 24-10, right? And we were moving the ball pretty effectively. We moved it almost 60 yards down the field, and we are, at the we're in the red zone. We're in the red zone. Third down, we don't get it. Fourth down. Fourth and 3 at the Stanford 10-yard line. I don't know if that's the right time to go for it in that situation. Maybe I just didn't agree because it was so early on. It was only maybe 5 or 6 minutes had gone off the clock in the third quarter. Just get the points and give, some momentum or a little bit of a break for your defense. A couple more plays. I thought we should have kicked the field goal, make it a 24-13 game. A little bit. Just it's so deflating to me for an offense that really had only moved the ball for a couple drives the whole first half to go, first half out the gate and not get any points all the way down to the 10-yard line. I, I don't know if I agreed with that decision there. Um, and then another one, we score a little bit later on, going for two to make it a 9-point game instead of kicking it to make it a 10-point game. To me, it's still a two-score game. So I don't understand the reasoning of going for two there instead of just trying to make it 27-17, field goal and a touchdown, a tie, right? Especially when we had held Stanford to 2 field goals earlier, right? So even if, let's say, you're still counting on your defense to bend and not break, it's a 13-point game. It's still a two-score game. So I don't know. It's a little bit tough for me to see that one. But just a couple of those decisions. I don't know if you got a chance to see those, but what are your opinions on those?
I think on the first point you said about going for it, I probably would have kicked the field goal, but I understand where Timmy is coming from, I think. Do I think he made the right call? No, but I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because the way that UH's defense looked in the first half wasn't very good to me. I thought they didn't play very well, so you kind of need to get back in the game. Stanford was scoring touchdowns. UH, you're not going to win, catch up by kicking field goals when you're down. So I think I understand the sense of urgency that Timmy was trying to show. But at the same time, I understand your point where it's like, you get a long drive. The worst thing you can do is get nothing. That's the worst thing you can do. So yeah, it's tough. I would have kicked the field goal there, but yeah, I think I understand where Timmy's coming from. But the second point, going for two, I don't understand it. I do think it's something with analytics because Mike McCarthy did this for my team before. He did this before. I think it was the Falcons game when they came back with the rugby kick. They went for two, and I don't think they got it. So we were down like I think we were no, we scored a touchdown. Dallas scores a touchdown, and then they're down 9. But instead of kicking the extra points and make it a 1-score game, they try to go for 2, and they don't get it. So we're still down 2 scores. So I think that's kind of an analytics call. So my thinking is, okay, we go for two, we cut it to 9. Now we can win the game if we score a touchdown and we can kick a walk-off field goal or something. I think it's just more desperation at that point and analytics. But I don't understand that to me. Like you're just trying to force the game to overtime at this point. So the risk reward to me, it's not really worth it in that
It
situation.
it was just like the only part I didn't get was it's still a 2 point game either way. Or I mean, sorry, two
Yeah,
possession game either
two
way. We're
possessions.
going for it to go cut it with an 8. Okay, I get it, right? Because then it's one score to tie potentially. But to go from 9 points to 10, like 10 points to 9 points, I was like, okay, what? I don't understand exactly what the analytics are behind that. Maybe I'm just not a good analytics guy, but that just didn't really make too much sense to me. So, I don't know. Yeah. Hopefully we win the next game, Matt. It
Oh, they better win the next game.
better win the next
we're
game.
paying we're paying Albany to fly across the world
Yeah.
to beat them.
And we need to win because we're not winning the following week against Oregon. So I don't know. Couple bright spots, I guess we could say. The past game, Ashlock, back to back Mountain West Conference Freshman of the Week. I believe he is going to be Freshman of the Year at this point with the numbers that he's putting up. He's just one of those guys that gets open, makes plays on the ball. He looks really good. I am excited to see and praying he stays at UH because I'm sure he's going to get a lot of looks from other schools, other big time schools. Um, McBride a little bit more quiet this game. Didn't hear too much from him. He did have a touchdown. Um, but I want to wrap it up, the UH talk, Matt, with our QB grades. So for Mr. Shager, I mean, 30 of 53, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. I don't know. What'd you think?
Ah, tough. I gotta give him maybe a B minus. I thought he regressed from last week, even though the box score might look better, honestly, this game than last week. But I think he regressed a little bit. I think he was holding on to the ball too long this game. And you know the pass rush is coming, it's getting to you. You got to have that clock in your head as a quarterback. It's got to be your first read or run, or it's got to be 1, 2, second read. If it's not there, run or throw it away. It's like he's just kind of sitting in the pocket. Like it kind of looked like Caleb Williams in a sense, except Caleb Williams has a little more time to throw the ball. He's just sitting in the pocket. Like it's like 1, 2, 3. By then you should be scrambling already. 4. Okay, now I'm gonna scramble. Oh, too late. Sack. Like the clock, the clock wasn't on time with Shager to me. And I gotta say, it's not all his fault because he didn't have a run game. When you don't have a run game, everybody knows you're gonna pass. So in a way, I kind of feel bad for him. But I still think that some of the decision making wasn't the greatest. So I would say a B minus for him this week.
Yeah, I was
He
gonna
got
give him like
outplayed though by a true freshman making his first start.
mm,
I will say that he got outplayed.
yeah, he looked good. I will say B minus C plus range. I thought he had a couple good drives, made a couple really good throws. Um, but yeah, held the ball a little bit too long with his decision making process, and then to get going outside of the pocket. Yeah, a couple steps too late, but that's all you really need for defense to go get you. So I'm not going to be too hard on him because I thought, really outmatched up front as well. Really hard to make throws when you don't have time. At least, last week he had a little bit more time, I thought, to make throws, let the plays develop downfield and show off his deep ball. So really didn't have much of a chance there. And, I was just maybe one quick thing, Matt, get your opinion since you're a defensive guy. But, UH's defense in that first half or just a lot of the game, we just seemed like we're playing a really, really soft zone. And Stanford, Ashton Daniels was just picking our zone apart. Receivers just kind of running to the first down, running curls, stopping, turning around, boom, the ball's hitting them right there. I just really was confused why there was no adjustment. Because it seemed like every crucial, third down or something, just see a receiver running right to the sticks, turning around, and they're getting the ball put right on the numbers. I don't know if you thought the same thing, but yeah, I just thought, what are we doing like defensively? Like, is that we're just playing a really soft zone, or I don't know. That seemed kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I think maybe it's because he's a running quarterback. So I think that plays a factor. If you play man, you probably got to keep a spy on him. So that's probably why I think they were staying in the zone coverage. But I didn't have a problem with that. I had a problem with how they defended the run because that was my key. I said, we got to run the ball and we got to stop the run. And 158 yards on the ground. Everybody was getting a little big chunks at a time. But the quarterback run, I know Ashton Daniels, the box score doesn't look great. 11 carries, 42 yards, less than 4 yards a carry. That's not bad. But I just think that he had timely runs that was just like it was so demoralizing. And it's like what they're gonna do. Third down and one. They ran the power sweep, the quarterback power sweep. How many times? And they couldn't stop it. To me, that's like you gotta adjust. They show it 2 times already. You already know what's gonna happen, and they can't stop it. They couldn't stop the run. And I think what is that? Filkins, the running back, he had a big 47-yard run. He broke loose. So, and then Emmett Smith's son also got a touchdown, EJ. So I was just disappointed in the lack of adjustments to the run game more than the zone coverage because I think the zone coverage was more to try to stop the run game, but it wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. And they had the tight end. What is his name? Urosek. He looked like Travis Kelce out there. My goodness, they couldn't stop him. They couldn't stop him at all. But maybe that's to your point, right? They're playing zone. Maybe you just got to keep a guy on him at all times. I don't know. But yeah, that goes to your point about making an adjustment.
Well, you know what? We take the loss. I already thought we'd be 0-2. So
Me
move
too.
on to next week. Still I still think we can go bowling as crazy as it sounds. Maybe we have a chance once we start playing a little bit more in conference games, but need a big win next week, Matt. Really quick. I don't want to preview it too much because we shouldn't really need to give keys to the game, hopefully, against Albany. But I think really what we said last week is going to apply this week. Get the run game going, protect Shager. You got anything else? Because I think we just do, those things, stick with the fundamentals, play sound football, don't beat ourselves up with penalties. I think we should be able to win this game, definitely.
Hawaii is definitely the better team on paper, so it shouldn't be, rocket science here. But I will say, I'm going to emphasize it again. Let's get Tylen Hines going, please. I mean, come on. 2 games in a row, he laid an egg. Maybe it's not in the run game, like you said, but just get him the ball in space, whether it's a sweep, screens, I don't know, anything. It doesn't have to be straight handoffs at this point. Get him the ball in space and let him run. So that's what I'm gonna say UH needs to do. Maybe
Okay.
3 to 5 catches out of the backfield. I want to see that.
Okay. Okay. I think that's more than reasonable. We'll check back in. If we lose next week, the season might be not lost, but when you're sitting at 0-3 going into Oregon, probably going to be 0-4 after that. Man, it's going to be real tough to go bowling after that. So praying on no upset this week. UH takes care of business, and we're sitting at 1-2. So that's the game
Oh
plan.
my gosh.
Hopefully, knock on wood, nothing crazy happens. But I think that's enough time with UH. Move on to a couple other college football stuff we want to get to. I know you want to get to Oregon. Geez, like show no mercy to Portland State. Absolutely throttled them. Scored 80 something points. Bo Nix, yeah,
81
off to a
points.
great
Best
start.
offense in the country so far.
Oh, gee, yeah, I would. I mean, no mercy, right? But what'd you think of Oregon in their, I guess, opener?
Well, I mean, pretty good. They basically played the starters the first half. Bo Nix played one drive in the third, scored a touchdown, then took the rest of the afternoon off. So that's good to see. His Heisman campaign off to a good start. 23 of 27, three touchdowns. That'll work. But I think when I was watching the beginning of the game, I was a little concerned because the defense on the first drive, they couldn't stop him. I was like, oh, this is like what I was been saying. They lost Christian Gonzalez to the NFL. The secondary was giving up a lot of chunk plays. So I was like, oh boy, this is not good. Portland State is shredding us. We're in for a long season. But they kind of buckled it down a little bit. I mean, they held them to 52 yards passing, so that'll work. But the first drive was a little scary. But I'm not gonna overreact. They did what they had to do, maybe a little more than they had to do. The real test is going to be next week. They play at Texas Tech. I know they lost to Wyoming in an upset, but Tyler Shuck is their quarterback, a former starter at Oregon before, so it's going to be interesting to see the rematch for him. It's going to be close. First road game, but yeah, week one's in the books for them. They did what they had to do, so not going to jump for joy with Portland State. At least Puddles was getting his workout in, doing 500 something push-ups.
Jeez, yeah, 500 something push-ups as a mascot. That must be so annoying. Um,
At least
but
Hawaii
let's
doesn't
get.
have to worry about that problem.
Oh yeah, yeah. Thankfully, um, let's get to the pretty much story that has swept week one, and that is Coach Prime and this Colorado team. Travis Hunter, his son Shadur Sanders. Um, they have, I believe, the running back as well. Had a great game. Um, they looked good against TCU. You know, TCU played in the national championship game or played in the CFP last year, right? Um, yeah, they really took it to him. This offense of Colorado, I thought no joke, but man, the just so impressed by what Deion was able to establish in one college football offseason, change the program around. Remember, we were hearing they're cutting a ton of their players. Players are leaving. It wasn't all for nothing though, because he implemented a system that worked. I don't know, Matt. How surprised were you though that Colorado was able to win this one?
I was pretty shocked. I didn't think they were going to get blown out. I think the spread going into the game was what? Was it three touchdowns? Something like that, right? It was pretty high. And I was like, wow, that's kind of disrespectful. And to give Deion more motivation for that team, that's just adding trouble for TCU. So I thought they weren't going to get blown out at all. I was shocked that they won, to be honest, though. It is TCU. It's on the road. National champion runner-ups. Yeah, they shocked me for sure. And I don't know. It wouldn't be surprising if they're ranked going into week two.
Oh, I think they definitely deserve to be ranked easily in the top 25. You take it to a top 20 team like that in their own stadium. I think they're definitely going to be ranked, and I think they're going to have exciting football. Maybe the Pac-12 is a little bit more exciting than
It's the
we were
best conference in
initially
football this year.
initially anticipating. So, you know, I just thought that, so I didn't watch the game, but I was watching the highlights. And man, there's a couple, they have guys on that offensive side of the ball. I mean, it all starts with their quarterback, though. I want to get to Shadur Sanders, obviously Coach Prime's son. But man, the throws he was making looked like big time, NFL prospect level throws. He's sitting in the pocket, and the touch he had on a lot of his balls was perfect perfect placement. He knew when to get outside of the pocket. He knew when he had to extend plays. Um, Made all the right decisions. I mean, 38 of 47, 510 yards, four touchdowns. Yeah, okay, you have great receivers, but you got to really know your stuff too, um, at the helm. So I thought he jumped really, really high. If he can continue to just play like this, they don't even need to win out or necessarily win the Pac-12, but I think he just continues to prove that he can play quarterback at a high level. He's going to start sneaking his way into second, first round, even uh, draft boards for a lot of teams, especially with the hype that comes with being Deion's son. The fact that he was able to stay so even keeled throughout the whole game, really, really impressive to me. Yeah, definitely Shadur. And then obviously the other star, Travis Hunter, two-way player. Really haven't seen a legit two-way player in college football in some time now. So I mean, he played 100 plus snaps in that Texas Heat, right? Didn't show any signs of slowing down. He had a pick, and then he also had 11 catches for 119 yards.
He dropped a
Um,
touchdown too, so he could have
yeah,
had
he dropped a
another.
touchdown. Yep. Um, and he was out of bounds, I think, right on one of them, but still ended up catching the ball, which was
Crazy.
crazy. So yeah, this kid is legit because he's not that big. Doesn't look that big to me, but yeah, he looks just so good. He made a couple of really key catches too late in the game that I thought were really tough. The one, I think, 40 something yarder
The deep
that
ball, right?
Shadur threw up the deep
Yeah.
ball in the fourth quarter, man, like the fact that he was able to go one on one, heads up with the defender, come back to the ball, have the focus to like catch it. I was like, oh, that is special. Um, and he's doing it on both sides. He's like running some of those receivers' routes for them, right? He dropped another pick
Yeah.
that was in his hands. Could have had two picks. His Heisman stock rose a lot as well. He's only, I believe, a true sophomore, right? So he still has
He's
some
got
time
two next year too. He's got to
next
play
year.
next year.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, he's let me check really fast. Yeah,
Because
so he's a true
he's
sophomore.
eligible
So
for the
he
draft 2025.
yeah, so he can't even go yet, which is kind of insane. Um, but he's already looking like, hey, maybe he should be in contention for the Heisman. So, man, week one, yeah, good overreact. But Colorado, I really want to see now. I think good might be one of the top games of the year. USC taking on Colorado, like just the fireworks in that game. Because the one thing though, I will say, Colorado still doesn't have a defense yet. They don't have a defensive line at all. Could not stop TCU's run game up the middle. So I mean that is going to come with recruiting, right? But after this game, and I think after this year, Coach Prime will have his pick of recruits for sure. So that would be definitely really, really interesting to see for this Colorado program moving forward. A lot of excitement there. And we will track that one as we go throughout the season.
I gotta ask you one more thing about Travis Hunter. What do you think he's better at, receiver or corner?
Man, it's so tough because I thought corner, like he was a true corner, but man, the plays that he was making as a receiver, like I think it's tough because he's so good at both, right? But I think maybe as a receiver, but it's probably just because he had 11 catches for 119 yards. Like I saw the production there. Like that is hard to do. But at the same time, he was so locked down, right? They pretty much stopped throwing to him after that pick. Um, and the drop pick really, like he was like sticking like glue on those receivers. So really tough for me to say. But I guess I'll just edge a little bit more towards the receiver because I like the highlights a little bit more. Um, so yeah, I'll say receiver. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I would lean more towards receiver, but I gotta say that interception he made, that was unreal because I
On
feel like
just the instinct on that.
9 out of 10 times that's a touchdown. That's such a hard play to read because he was following his initial receiver and then he passed it off and he picked up the back coming out of the flat. So I was like, and it happened so
Just
fast. And the way that
the
he
IQ on
extended,
that play. Mm-hmm.
he went full extension to get the INT too. So that's the receiver hands coming into play. So I was like, wow, that that was a play. And if that was the NFL, he could have got up and run. He probably would have had a pick six.
Yeah.
So could I say that he's becoming the college football Otani,
I was just
playing
about
both
to
sports?
say the college
Otani,
football Otani would be kind
college
of
football
crazy.
Otani.
But yeah, we'll track Colorado a little bit more now as the season goes on. But really quick, Matt, let's just get to some baseball stuff here to wrap up the pod. You can go with your Yankees first. No, they're pretty much out of playoff contention, but got a couple of the younger guys on the roster now.
Wow, this is the best weekend of baseball I've had this year, probably. We swept the Astros in Houston. How about that? And we did it with the kids. The new era of baby bombers led by Mr. The Martian himself, Jason Dominguez, who hit 2 home runs this weekend. First hit was a home run off of
Mm-hmm.
Justin Verlander. Couldn't have been any better. Austin Wells comes up. He's raking as usual, but I like that he was defensively making plays. He threw out a guy. I think he threw out Dubon trying to steal second. Um, Michael King. He started the Sunday night game. He was interviewed after the game saying that Austin Wells's IQ and ability to pick up the game is really quick because he wanted pitches, he wanted Austin Wells to kind of set up a certain way, and he was able to make that adjustment. So for a young kid making his first starts as catcher, that's impressive to me. And what's really eye-opening is these two guys. Well, Dominguez is a switch hitter, Wells is a lefty, but I can imagine these guys in Yankee Stadium with the short porch. Those guys can easily put 30 home run seasons for us. So I'm hoping that they play well this rest of the month, lock in their spots for next year in center field and catcher, and maybe there is hope next year for 2024. You keep Judge healthy, find a way to trade Stanton. I'm over him already. But DJ's hitting again. Sean Casey's fixed them for some reason. I'm so happy. If Glaber can keep the hot bat up going into next year, that's a huge plus. So there is some hope in Yankee land. There's some hope, but maybe not this year. But I'm glad the kids are playing well right now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, kind of bad news for my Dodgers. So
Oh my
took on
God.
Atlanta. We took. Well, I'll get on the game first. So we took on Atlanta. Two best teams in the NL. 4 game series. First one was a great game. We lost by 1 run. End up losing the next two though, and avoid the sweep in game 4. All that doesn't seem to matter now with this Julio Urias news. Um, Arrested
That's
for domestic
crazy.
violence. I mean, I believe this is his what second or
Second.
third chance. Okay, yeah, that the Dodgers were giving him though. Second time getting, I believe, investigated or arrested, right? Something like that. Um, I don't. I think he's done. Honestly, with how the Dodgers kind of handle things internally, they gave him a second chance. But man, sometimes when you give people second chances and they show you what happened, um, that's kind of a test to their true character, right? So really just disappointment or disappointing because he was such a bright spot for this team. He was the young kid, uh, ready to take over for Kershaw, closed out the World Series in 2020, and now probably maybe even be out of the league, right? So just really disappointing. And you know, if you want to switch over to baseball really quick, what it means for the Dodgers moving forward, down another one of our best pitchers, probably off the team at this point, even moving forward now. So really, really good in need Walker Bueller to come back healthy soon. He's finally making AAA rehab starts, but it's just that much tougher now on the rest of this team and the bullpen moving forward. So I'm a little concerned. Now I'm concerned. This was a big blow for us moving forward, especially in the playoffs. I don't. Hopefully, it doesn't affect the guys too much mentally, but that can be a really stressful thing, within the locker room to have to deal with that. Just really disappointing, honestly. Um, yeah, can't have that. type of behavior in the league. So yeah.
I think the
I
only
was,
thing I gotta say, like baseball wise, not taking any mental part, but strictly on paper, I don't think the Dodgers are hurt, but I think that just separates them or separates the Braves, I think, from the Dodgers. Because I thought, they're both kind of neck and neck. Walker Buehler comes back. Maybe the Dodgers kind of just push them even, but yeah, tough blow for the Dodgers right there. I think the Braves kind of have that edge on them now. Not even taking the series into contention, just strictly with that Urias uh decision that he decided to do. So, and it's tough for him too because he's a free agent right after this year. So
he might be
contract
out of the
year,
league. It might be like a Wander
yeah,
Franco. He might
it's
be done.
yeah, it's like the Trevor Bauer thing, right? It's like deja vu for you guys, but
Yeah, he's just gonna get
tough.
blacklisted from the league.
It's tough. Yeah, that's a
Disappointing.
tough one. A guy who I really like too. I mean, he's on my fantasy team, but I thought he was just a young stud for the Dodgers from 19, right? So
Yep. Came in at
I think he's
19.
done.
Yeah, disappointing there. Not really any state of the 808 this week, Matt, but I will say Kolten Wong officially got called up to the Dodgers in his first big league at bat against Atlanta this year, or this past weekend for the Dodgers. Hits a 3-run home run. So, maybe Kolten is going to get a little bit of playing time. And he was playing shortstop, Matt, in AAA. So, be pretty interesting to see him, lace up and go out and play some shortstop. But other than that, that's all I got for this week. Why don't you go ahead and round us out with our sports fact?
All right, we are recording on September 4th, and we'll go back to 2002. So after blowing an 11-run lead to Kansas City, Scott Hatterberg from the Oakland A's came up and hit a walk-off home run that set the Oakland A's win streak to 20 games. And for those of you that don't know, this is the Moneyball era. This is that
Moneyball
movie,
scene.
Brad Pitt, Chris Pratt hits the home run playing Scott Hatterberg. So that's the glory days of the Oakland A's for you because they're not having any right now.
Yeah, no, they're not. But okay, Matt. Well, that'll wrap us up here. Good episode this week. Next week's gonna be I'm guessing a longer one with all the NFL talk. Really excited to get back into the swing of things. So yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for sticking around and watching. Have a good week. And yeah, see you guys next week.